Hey there, I'm Dana Johnson, dental practice management expert, certified Dentrix trainer, and founder of Navoni, revolutionizing the dental industry through innovation and strategic leadership. It wasn't long ago that I lived in your shoes, navigating the daily challenges of managing a dental practice with the hopes and dreams of having a productive schedule, money in the bank, and getting home on time to my sweet daughter. After 25 years working in the dental practice and 17 years as a certified Dentrix trainer, I found my life's work, helping dental teams one-on-one, optimizing their systems and software. If you are looking to create the thriving dental practice you have always dreamed of and empower your high-performing dental team, you are in the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome, everyone, to the High Performing Dental Team. I'm Dana Johnson, your host, and we are here to kick off our third quarter, July 1st. And I have a special guest, of course, whenever we are kicking off a new quarter in our businesses. I have my special guest, good friend, dental colleague, dental industry expert, Claire Dickinson, and Claire is the operations director for Puget Sound Perio up in the state of Washington. We have been good friends for, well over 20 years. We're hiking buddies. We were just talking about how her dog Annie is now the Navoni mascot, and so she may bark or come sniff into the microphone during our podcast. But Annie's a sweetheart. So welcome, Claire.
Hi.
Hey, how are you? How's the weather up in Washington now?
Oh, it's not as beautiful as it was last year. So I think everybody got a taste of the abnormal weather last year. So it's a little disappointing that it's not quite sunny yet. So.
Well, I was up there a couple of weeks ago, of course, because I go up there about every 4 to 6 weeks to see my daughter. And when I was up there just a couple of weeks ago, we had a 77-degree day, 75-degree day. And Lauren went to the pool and we had a pool day. It was fun. It was great.
Yeah.
It's really rare, but
this week, it is rare. And, we got spoiled last year for sure. But, we all have very short memories. So it's pretty normal weather for right now. It's gray and cloudy and rainy right now. But this next weekend is supposed to get nice again. So, it'll be good.
Yeah. Well, here in Colorado, it was rainy, cold, and overcast yesterday. So it kind of reminded me of being back in Washington.
Yeah.
All right. So there's kind of 3 main topics we're going to hit on today. So just kind of brief overviews about what practices should be thinking about as we dive into the third quarter of the year. We're going to start off with annual planning and just kind of we talk about annual planning every year this time of year. And there are very specific reasons why we want to start our annual planning for next year right now. A lot of offices think that, we'll do our annual planning session in December, and we'll kick off the new year. Well, by the time you're in December, it's already too late to think about 2025 or the next year. So Claire, give us like a high-level overview of why is it that offices should be scheduling their annual planning session with their team now?
Yeah. Annual planning is always best mid-year. The biggest reason why is most of us are scheduling 6 months out. So on a very, basic level, you have to know what days you're working, especially in January, February, because we're starting to schedule in January, February.
Exactly.
The other reasons for setting the annual plan is that you can future pace what you hope financially the practice will look like. So setting your days and then looking at your historical data about what it is that you were able to achieve this last year, you can somewhat future pace what you hope your goals and your stretch points will be for next year. So then you can think about things like, do we add more team members? What capital expenditures do we have? How much vacation can we take? That's a big one for people.
Yes.
Like, if we know how much we want to make, right, and we think it's achievable with that, within our practice, we can set the schedule for a year, and we can literally set up, okay, well, we can afford to take this many days off. So, that is a huge positive for team members, because then we know, okay, what do we need to do per quarter, per month, per quarter, per year to make this happen?
Exactly.
So it's annual planning is my favorite time of the year. I love it.
It's like a holiday. It's like a holiday for you.
Yeah, I'm also a planner though. So for people who fly by the seat of their pants, let's say, it may not be as fun of an experience for them, but it really does, like, what you put down on paper, it usually comes to fruition. Yeah. So I really encourage people to do it, because it's a good exercise.
I agree. The first dental practice that I ever worked in, you and I worked for the same doctor. And I remember it was, 92, 93, around there. And we were working with a consulting company. And I remember our annual planning sessions. And, the consultant would come to the office. It would be a full day. She would have the big whiteboards, and we would be talking about our goals and what we want to do, and just the vision of the practice. And I'll never forget, that was at that point, I knew, I was like, that's what I want to do, because it was so energizing. It was just, the team got excited. We had this roadmap, and I knew I wanted to be a part of driving that road and setting those goals. And it was just always so exciting that time of year. I loved it. And so I'm a lot like you, and we used to work for the same doctor. So we're all kind of on the same page with that.
We are.
Another thing that we could also consider when annual planning, you talk about setting those vacation days, and like, how many days are we going to work per week? And if we're going to maybe change our hours at all, or maybe we're going to add Fridays, that all comes into play, because then we can get our schedule all set up. Because like you said, we're already scheduling into January for hygiene patients. Another thing that I know you and I have talked about before is most dental practices are made up of probably 90% women. And so we think about, are there women in our practice that are considering pregnancy? Are they going to be having babies? Do we need to think about maternity leaves and things like that? So that's another thing that could come up during your annual planning.
For sure.
Yeah. So think about, if an office is thinking about, okay, oh my gosh, we need to get our annual planning sessions scheduled. And maybe they're going to, after listening to this podcast, they might schedule it for maybe mid-July or maybe August. It is a slower time usually for a dental practice, because a lot of vacations are happening. But if an office was going to then schedule their annual planning session, what does it look like? Do you think about doing a full day? Is it half day? Is it on-site, off-site? What does that look like?
So always preferred on-site, in person. There's a lot of dialogue that takes place that, it's really important to have the team together to do that, because it is a team planning.
Yes.
It's not just the doctor, it's the team, right? Because you have to get your team to buy in to your vision and your plan for the year. So include them. It depends on where the practice is in their life cycle. So if they've never done this before, I would say minimum a half day.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we have time to answer questions, and we get through the ideas and the thoughts that are behind it. We learn how to look at data, historical data, and what it means, and how do we decipher it. For teams that are more further along and have done this before, I actually did an annual planning yesterday for a team, and we did it in an
Oh,
hour.
wow.
Like they
Okay.
were on
Yeah.
it. And all I had to prep them for was I said, hey, everybody bring their personal calendars. Doesn't have to be set in stone, but some kind of idea about what it is you would like your 2025 vacation schedule to look like. And that does not mean that we say yes to it. It's just, it gives them some contribution into the conversation so they feel like they have choice and they feel like they're a participant. And then we talk, and then we just, everybody comes in, the doctor shares their days off, what we want the practice to look like, what we want our overall goals to be. Okay, so how do we get there? How many days a month? How many days a quarter? What does that need to look like? And we just burn through it super fast. So, it really just depends on the lifestyle of the practice. I have some practices that I've worked with in the past that just do it. And they're like, hey, here's our annual plan. Great. Awesome. Right. So it's not a hard project.
Yeah.
It just needs to be a deliberate project.
And it's kind of their comfort level, like you said, if we've been doing this for a while, they're very comfortable with the process. And also, like you said, looking at historical data. So a lot of doctors, a lot of practices don't look at numbers. And, I still have doctors that I'm working with that still don't share numbers. And, looking at numbers can be one of the biggest challenges because you have to get over that uncomfortable feeling of sharing numbers with your practice. And so offices that do that on a regular basis at your monthly numbers meeting, like both dental practices I worked in over my 18 years being in a practice, both practices shared numbers openly and regularly.
Sure.
And so, we were very comfortable with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say too, depending on the doctor's comfort level of sharing information, because like you said, it can be a lot, it can be none. Still, as a team member, relatively, like let's say a hygienist, relatively what you're producing per hour, right? Let's say per patient, just for the sake of the conversation. You can come up with some kind of contribution is, okay, so if I'm doing just arbitrary numbers, if I'm doing 150 an hour or whatever, what can I stretch myself to next year? And it doesn't have to be an overall practice thing, but a contribution such as, I like to have goals and okay, so I can stretch myself to 175 an hour. That works too. I mean, it can be very basic and can be very detailed.
Yeah. I think another thing that dental practices are thinking about with annual planning is, and I'm working with several teams right now, is going out of network. So I have 3 teams right now up in the state of Washington going out of network with Delta. I have 2 teams here in the state of Colorado that are going out of network with everybody except Delta, so it's this variance, and so many practices are going out of network because they can't afford to practice while they're still in network. And so that's also been a big part of annual planning.
Yes. Yeah. Cause it's kind of the unknown, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, we've done this forever. What is this going to look like? And, it'll be interesting to see because I am seeing the same thing.
Yeah. So, if there's any practices that are, considering going out of network and you want to add that to your annual planning and you just really don't know where to start, Claire and I could both help you with that, navigating that roadmap with going out of network. So definitely let us know if we can help you. I know that can be a scary, unknown pathway.
It is. And I laugh a little bit just because I know it's such an arduous task and there's so many unknowns and I hear so many, but like this panic look, right? And there is light at the end of the tunnel though.
Yeah.
And
I kind of,
whatever is right for you.
Yeah. I was
going to say, whatever's right for your particular practice is right for your practice.
Exactly.
And that's what that needs to be your goalpost.
Yeah, exactly. So. I kind of use the analogy as it's like a knee replacement. It's like something that you put off like forever because, I don't want to do it. I don't want to be put out, and then they finally do the knee replacement and it's like, well, I wish I would have done that sooner.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
because it always turns out better than you think it's going to, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Mhm.
we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about AI and outsourcing. So we'll be right back.
Did you know that you could increase your team's productivity by up to 200% if you had a formal team training program in place? And businesses that do have a formal team training program in place also enjoy up to a 24% increase in profit margin. If you want to learn how and book a call with me, click on the show notes and book a free discovery call with me, and we will talk all about it.
All right, welcome back, everybody. All right, so hopefully now you are going to put your annual planning session on the calendar this time of year, hopefully July. Get it on the calendar before the end of July. That would be awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
Another thing that has really been exploding in our dental industry is AI. And I don't want to talk about like specific AI products. I don't want to get into that. What I do want to just touch on is if you are considering, if you're thinking and you're hearing all this stuff about AI, I just want to kind of chat a little bit about where we think AI could make a difference in our practices, and should we consider that for our annual planning for maybe including it or adding it into our practice. So
Mhm.
I know, Claire and I were talking before we came on, and she's not using any AI in her practice yet. But what's the chatter that you're hearing in the industry about AI?
Um, some of the things that I'm hearing is, as we discussed, insurance verification, which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
That takes up so much time for people.
Yes.
And so if there's an opportunity to have AI do that for you,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a great option, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
Other things that I'm seeing, we have to be really careful because of HIPAA and privacy. But having AI assisted, almost like uh, somebody who does, I lost the words here, medical dictation for you.
Oh,
So
okay.
for the
Yeah.
doctors, like as long as they don't say names, they can literally speak into
Yeah.
AI,
Yeah.
however, phone, computer, whatever, and it can dictate
Yes.
for them
Yes.
and do notes for them. And where that will go, I don't know, if we'll eventually see some kind of treatment plan assisting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, we're so new, it's happening super
It
fast,
is. Yeah.
but it's such a new thing that we do see errors with AI. It's not a set it and forget it thing. But I would say, one thing that is really useful and that I've been, a part of and privy to is using it to polish and also help set up a lot of
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
like your chart templates, but then also like the narrative what you communicate with your patients,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
your email campaigns, it does a really nice job of it. Again, you still need to go back. It gives you a good skeleton,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
it's a little bit more advanced than sometimes we are in the day-to-day stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
So it is helpful.
Agreed. Agreed.
Um,
Yeah. I agree
yeah,
with that. Yeah,
yeah.
I do completely agree with what you were saying about insurance. Anywhere AI could help us with insurance, whether it's
Mhm.
verification and benefits, or because I did a podcast with Stratus several weeks ago. So you can always look back and listen into my podcast with Stratus. They are using AI for insurance verification and benefits. And also, I think when AI could help, choose the right x ray that goes with the claim and
Yeah.
attach the narrative. And so I think if you are going to be looking into AI products, those might be some things that you look into, any,
Mhm.
any way we can take away some of those insurance tasks that is so time consuming with our admin team, that would be a huge benefit, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, even with our phone systems, like missed calls.
Oh yeah, that's a great
right?
one. I agree.
That's, I think we're starting to see that you have, instead of just getting a voicemail, you're getting some type of,
Yeah.
Dr. Smith is, unavailable at this time, like whatever
Yeah.
it is, right? And yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. It's happening so
I know.
fast. Sometimes I feel like I can't keep up with
I've been
it.
trying to keep up with it because, of course,
Yeah,
Henry Schein One has come out with some AI products. I know I wasn't going to talk about specific products, but Bola AI, like you talked about doing clinical notes and perio charting, that can, with our staffing shortage, having a assistant in the clinical room, this AI assistant doing your, dictating your clinical notes and doing your perio chart, dictating the perio chart can be extremely efficient, and what a
Mhm.
time saver that could be. And, so when you're looking into AI, I think all those things, insurance tasks, clinical note documentation, perio charting. I love the phone system. I had never even thought of having an AI robot answering the phones. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I know it can cause a lot of uncertainty for people. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
And it also can provide us a lot of other opportunities to focus our attention elsewhere.
Agreed. Agreed.
And, so
I think that AI is kind of that shiny new toy that is
yeah,
still needing some refinement, um, and we're all very interested in it. And we
yeah,
also want to know, how well is it really working and how accurate is it? So,
for sure.
but I do think that we want to keep it on our radar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. I don't think it's even keeping it. I don't think it's a
Yeah,
choice. It's on the
it
dashboard.
is. It's
And
on the roadmap. It's
yeah,
happening.
yes, it
It
is.
is happening. And I think, when you're doing your annual planning, let's think about, is that something that we want to look into this year, or do we table it for next year when it has been
For
around
sure.
longer?
Yeah. Well, you can also use AI to help you. This goes back to how much the doctor wants to share or not share,
Yeah.
obviously. Uh, but, when you're trying to do an analysis on, what a team member's compensation is to production, to like strategizing the best way to maximize time.
Mm-hmm.
I do see that this is something that will come on the horizon, where
Yes.
in the past we use, data analysts to do that and stuff like that. I still think that there's a place for them. There all will always be, but I also think that we will have a lot of AI assistance and putting together these models for
Yeah.
us. And
I agree.
I think it's great.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Even like fee schedule comparison and things like that.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. Gosh, that would be amazing. That's such a time suck.
I know. I know it is. If we just did, you know, 3 more crowns per month, what would that do to our annual production? Or,
Yeah,
if our hygienist did fluoride on every patient, what would that look like? Those kinds of analytics. Gosh, an AI comparison could really speed that process up.
sure. For sure it
Yeah.
could. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, lots of things, lots of cool things with AI.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, so finally, what I want to touch on, if you are scheduling your annual planning session, is, do you want to add any outsourcing? Like, if you are short staffed and you are unable to hire, or maybe you don't want to take on the expense of hiring a team member, because
Mhm.
employee expenses is your number one expense on your P&L. I mean, it is the biggest
Mhm.
expense. Not only the hourly wages that we're seeing, but you have to think of total compensation when it comes to hiring a new team member, and the onboarding expense, and all of that whenever you're bringing on a new team member. I received an email from a doctor this morning, and I've been following up with him every single month, and He's like, I'm hiring a new office manager. Okay, my new office manager is starting May 1st. Okay, and then he goes, reach out to me in a month to 45 days. So I reached out again. Oh, she didn't work out. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like spinning my wheels here. And
Yeah,
so it's like, can we talk about the possibility of outsourcing some of your admin tasks? Because I am sure, I haven't reached out to him yet this morning, but I'm sure his accounts receivable is being affected by the lack of
for sure.
team members. So not having someone in a position like a accounts receivable or a financial coordinator or an office manager or an insurance coordinator, those tasks are not getting done. And it is putting a strain on the profitability of your practice. So I love outsourcing in specific places. And I know you
Yes.
do too. So let me hear your take, and we'll kind of chat about that a little bit.
Yeah. So we do outsource one of our revenue cycle management, one arm of it.
Mm-hmm.
We outsource our insurance aging, posting, billing.
Yes.
It works really, really well for us. I mean, sometimes, on a monthly basis, depending on, because we pay a percentage of what they collect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It can be a little painful when we see that invoice go out, but I think that we lose when we see that, and our immediate response to it is we lose focus on the fact that it is still
Yes.
cheaper than it would be to hire
It
someone
is.
because of all the extra, costs that are incurred when the true payroll costs that it is for having an employee on the team, and the personality and the HR stuff
And
and all that
and
stuff.
the drama and the all
Yeah.
of that goes in with humans. Yeah, what I love about
Yeah.
outsourcing is that that's all they do. Like
That's all they
they
do.
put their head
Yeah.
down and they're focused. That's all they do.
Mhm.
They don't get involved with, they're not on their phones all day, at the front desk, or they're not, there's no drama,
Sure.
you don't have to deal with the
Yeah.
HR issues when you outsource. They just
Yes.
get shit done, which is, what you
They
really
do,
want.
and they have skin in the
Yeah.
game. If they don't produce it, they don't get paid for it,
Yeah.
right? So it's a different
Mm-hmm.
model, not to say that our team members are not committed to, being engaged in their position, but it is a little bit different at times when you have someone that's basically you eat what you kill,
Yeah.
right? And that's a really good
Yes.
way to think about it, is they're driven different. And so they know if they don't get it done, they're not getting paid. So aside from that, though, it's because this is all they're focused on, and they don't have the phones ringing and other things that come up in a dental office.
Mm-hmm.
Their focus is very
Yes.
focused. And two, it allows my team members to, instead of being on an insurance call, and we know sometimes it can take hours,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
They are with patients,
Mm-hmm.
and we are in a service industry. And so, yes, dentistry is what we do, but the type of service that we give people is actually above the dentistry that we do,
Yes.
right? And so if I have somebody walking in the door and this particular person needs more attention, like they want to talk or they want to whatever, and I have somebody on an insurance call, in my mind, that's not a good use of their
I
time,
agree with
right?
you.
I would have people who are more focused on investing in the patient, and it's very patient centric, and less focused on this stuff, right?
100%.
And so that's why I'm a big believer in outsourcing. I have stayed away from doing outsourcing and collections, only because I feel like when you get to that type of transaction, it can get very personal.
Mm-hmm.
And I want our patients to feel like they have that personal connection with our team still,
Yes.
which I don't think that they would get with outsourcing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever you're comfortable with. So
I agree with you. Everything you said. I love outsourcing for the insurance arm of
yeah,
AR because there's no patient interaction, because
sure.
we're in a relationship business, we're in a customer service
Mhm.
business, we're in a service industry. And yes, like you said, we do dentistry, but we are a relationship business. And
Yes.
and I want my team, I want my employees that I'm paying and salary and that are part of my team having that one-on-one connection with my patients. And then,
Mhm.
and then I can outsource this piece over here, and I
Yeah.
think it's a really great thing, especially if you are having challenges hiring or finding, hiring, and keeping team members. Kevin has a whole presentation on that. And if you're having challenges with that, then reach out to us. We can really give you some good recommendations of not only what you can outsource, but who you can reach out to for outsourcing. There's some really good people out there that do a really good job. But we do
Yeah.
have to remember that they work for us. And it's also not a set it and forget it type of system. We also have to keep our eyes on the prize and make sure that we are looking at those reports and, holding them accountable.
For sure. Yeah. And, I always recommend my owner doctors to, you have to be your own office manager,
Yes.
so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at your numbers every day. You have to look at your adjustments every day.
Yes.
Um, you can't just assume somebody's taking care of your business the way you do.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Oh, good. This was so good. Thank you. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Any last final words to wrap up? All
No,
right.
annual planning is my favorite time of the year, as I said earlier. And I just get super jazzed when people start to implement it into their practice lives. And I hope everybody does
I
it.
know.
It's so
I
much
know.
fun.
So if there's somebody out there that's listening and you want to have Claire maybe coach you on annual planning, or you want her to help you with your annual planning, how could they reach out to you?
Email's
Okay.
best. And I'm sure you'll drop that
I
in
will.
the meeting
I
notes.
will.
And yeah, I'd love to help out.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for
Yes,
listening.
always a good
I
time.
know. Thank you. And you will be back when we kick off fourth quarter. I'm sure I'll see you before then, though.
I'm sure
I
you
have some Seattle plans coming up in, oh gosh, I don't know when, but I'll let you know.
will. I'll be in Denver, remember, in August.
Yes. Yes. I think I have it on my calendar.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, my friends, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us, and I appreciate you. If you loved this episode, if you found it informative and helpful for your practice, please rate it, review it. 5-star reviews are our favorite, and you can share it with your friends and colleagues. And I look forward to watching your journey of becoming a high-performing dental team.